My Little Pony, a heartwarming show aimed at little girls about the impact and importance of friendship. I'd say that friendship is Magic Falls, but whatever has happened to the show and its fandom over the years is even more magical in my eyes. I watched a ton of MLP related content as a kid, but you best believe that I did not expect My Little Pony to pop up on my TikTok For You page again, even less a literal wave of creepypasta like Infection AUs. But hey, I'm not complaining. It surely takes me back to see that people still harbor the habit of creating creepy alternate universes of My Little Pony. Although nothing will take me back to reading Cupcakes for the first time. I was 11. People have done it before, and apparently they will do it again. Although it is somewhat nice to see this trend reoccurring, so I thought might as well jump on the bandwagon while it's still there, right? Something I didn't see quite as much though were the main 6 humanized versions, and so I thought, you know what, that's my calling. Although I do understand why that is, because ponies are just easier to draw and edit in that style, and well, they are canonically ponies after all, but taking something as cute as MLP and turning it into something twisted really kicks the shock value up to its max, so it's a pretty common and popular trope on the internet. Today, I want to try and create an alternate universe with the human versions of the My Little Pony characters. So let's get on with it! Before we actually get into this video's main content, I want to give a quick warning to those who need it. This video does not contain visible violence, but it does contain rather small amounts of blood, bruising, and skin rashes. Additionally, this video contains some mild horror elements, so viewer discretion is advised. Step 1 is creating a disease. The most common type of infection I saw in those AUs were viruses and very rarely fungi. The logic used behind those infections was also pretty broad, but that is to be expected since in most people's eyes it doesn't matter too much, and as long as it's creepy and shocking, people will like it. And honestly, I don't blame them for it. Today I want to take a different approach. So, I thought I would use my biological prowess, which is not really strong, to create a funky and interesting parasite. Mind you, I am not a scientist, so if any of this seems illogical, just pretend it doesn't. September 20XX. The Celestial Administration Office has sent Twilight Sparkle, a government-employed biologist, and the honorary conservationist Fluttershy on a trip to the Hayseed Swamps. Equipped with the necessary tools and a research team behind them, Twilight and Fluttershy have been given the task to evaluate the region's habitability. On a late afternoon boat ride, Fluttershy leans out of the boat to take a closer look at the water and ends up falling in due to Twilight's excitement over a newly gained epiphany. As quickly as she could, Twilight pulled Fluttershy out of the water, being more concerned about the scare both of them received rather than the consequences that accident would bring them.
Today took an unexpected turn. Fluttershy unknowingly has become the first host to a mysterious parasite. Following symptoms emerged after a swamp exploration: fatigue, headaches, and a slight fever. It should be gone after treating it with antibiotics. Fluttershy's condition has worsened. The microscopic invaders, now identified as a palace parasite, are navigating the bloodstream, making her recovery more difficult by masquerading as host cells. Unsettling mood changes and heightened irritability have become apparent. Her pupils are so incredibly big. I can't tell whether they became unresponsive or if she's intaking more stimuli than usual. I'm sure it's hard for her, but things will get better, I promise. Alteration in behavior and mood hinted a neuroinvasive journey. Aggression surfaces gradually, leaving me grappling with the unfolding drama of a situation I cannot even comprehend. This is getting dangerous. Authorities have been notified, but I have to admit, I have been feeling a little woozy lately. I cannot help but dread what's about to happen to me too. There is no turning back. The symbiotic bond between Fluttershy and the parasite is established. She cannot live without the parasite, and the parasite cannot live without her. They are one. It's truly terrifying what this parasite is capable of. The immense production of proteins allowed her to develop regenerative abilities, and neurotransmitter shift make her nearly invulnerable to pain. She's bloodthirsty. The parasite needs to reproduce through blood. But not all hope is lost. After getting infected myself, I found a way to slow down the infection. I can only hope I can go as far as making it pure.
Okay, I know I foreshadowed my design ideas a little with the storyline, but let me show y'all actually designing the characters. Also, before anyone points this out, I know my art style is kind of in a weird phase right now because I'm trying out a bunch of new stuff and I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, so that's that. First off, Twilight. Of course she's looking for a cure, duh, she's smart. If it fits, it fits, people. I can agree with the rest of the AU creators. Twilight feels fully responsible for what happened to Fluttershy. If she wouldn't have jumped up on the boat like that, Fluttershy wouldn't have fallen in the swamp and caught the parasite. Little does she know is the fact that despite being right about the parasite spreading through blood, she's wrong about Fluttershy being the one infecting her. The palace parasite, and before anyone comments this, I know I'm super creative for naming it swamp parasite in Latin, can also be secondarily carried by insects. So one mosquito bite and you could be basically done for, which is exactly what happened to Twilight here, and also the reason why she's wearing the neck scarf, trying to cover up the rash from the bite, but more on that rash and the other symptoms later. She is stuck in a race between her and the parasite. Between stages 2 and 3, infected people lose a great deal of their consciousness, which they regain with an additional bloodthirst in stage 4. Twilight has to immensely slow down the infection to stage 1, where symptoms are rather mild. Now, for the design choices, first of all these human designs are my headcanons, although I used a lot of pre-existing media as references. Quite frankly, for the sake of efficiency and accuracy, I literally did something the show couldn't do and just color picked their main colors and twisted the color wheel in a way that the value would stay the same. Of course, if you headcanon them differently, that's completely fine too. I just did something that I thought would be most practical and, I guess, least problematic, if y'all know what I mean. Twilight's design is supposed to intentionally seem very tense, but also determined. Hair is put up into a messy bun with very long and loose strands hanging out. I figured from her original design that her hair must be layered, and I know from experience that layered hair does not just simply stay in a bun like that. It definitely adds to the apocalyptic vibe that I was going for, and other than that, true fans might have noticed that the glasses on her head are not hers, but Rarity's. Her glasses actually got broken by Fluttershy, and, well, let's just say Rarity doesn't really need them at this point. More on that later. Face-wise, I felt like bushy eyebrows and a slightly larger nose would suit her best in this situation because she's handling a very, very rough job, so her face should be able to represent the ability to do so. Not to mention, she's canonically very smart and educated, and for some reason, I simply associate crooked noses with wisdom. I'm actually not entirely sure why. I read that people with a high IQ tend to set themselves goals they can't reach easily, which frustrates them but also keeps them going. I wanted that to be Twilight's vibe here. She's definitely struggling, but she's determined to find a cure no less. And that's it for Twilight. She was the first one I designed, and I especially love how her hair turned out. I'm pretty sure that if it weren't for this dire setting, I would have redesigned her way differently. But I mean, that ain't the case, so Fluttershy gets spared a lot in the AUs because she's one of the fan favorites. I get that, but since we're already on the topic of taking cute things and turning them scary, I feel like Fluttershy would absolutely make sense here. If I had to rank the main 6 in regard to being the cutest, I would either say that Fluttershy or Pinkie Pie is on top. But making Pinkie Pie creepy is so incredibly overdone, so I decided to take a risk and make Fluttershy the infected person here. I want to take the speed paint as a chance to explain the symptoms of the parasite a bit more, since Fluttershy is in stage 2 here. We are dealing with a microscopic parasite here, an amoeba. We are dealing with an amoeba, which can be transmitted through blood. The tough part about this parasite is the fact that when entering the host's bloodstream, it has the ability to deceive a body's immune response by camouflaging itself as a host cell. That way, the parasite goes unnoticed and can continue partially migrating to the central nervous system, where it heavily slows down the host's awareness, thinking, and sensing to concentrate its energy on different processes, which become apparent in later stages. Next to the host's loss of consciousness, rashes within the 2 first stages along with fever, fatigue, and unresponsiveness are also common. The rashes are pretty aggressive and bleed quite heavily once scratched, so the parasite can spread from person to person even faster. Fluttershy is in stage 2 here, which means she's still pretty unresponsive, but judging by Spike's absence, she is transitioning into stage 3. I mean, her body needs the energy for the last stage, so okay, that's it for the story aspect. Design-wise, she's probably the least special one. Her pony design is very easy to translate into a human one, which is why I decided to concentrate on her sickly appearance more. Being mentally absent and the phenomenon of the uncanny valley go really well together, as I found out. A lot of Infection AU speak of entities in regard to ponies/humans who are in their final stage of infection, because they are not ponies/humans anymore. I wanted to take a similar approach, just with more scientific backing. Although, not maybe everything is super scientific, but I mean, her pupils are freaking huge, and her facial expressions is very dazed and hard to understand. Both of these are aspects that fit the symptoms of the parasite, but also traits that are often used to make characters scarier in an uncanny way. A very good correlation to work with, I say. Oh, and Spike. Listen, while Fluttershy is very easily translated not only into her human form but also my art style, Spike is the complete opposite. Honestly, I can't just make him purple because we're making things more realistic, but at the same time, I didn't want to change him completely or exclude him, so you know what? Fluttershy ate him. You heard correctly. That is the solution that I chose. You can call me irrational, I don't care. That is the solution. And that's Fluttershy. I was struggling with this one, not gonna lie, and I'm pretty sure it's visible, but she looks creepy and uncanny, so I'm content with that aspect. I mean, I can turn on the luminosity a bit and y'all can see what visuals I was going for. And I mean, she's only in stage 2, people. Imagine what stage 4 looks like. The last one in this video is gonna be Rarity. Why? Because I like Rarity. Kidding. The hayseed swamps have a lot of undiscovered flora and fauna. Taking undiscovered motifs as inspirations increases originality, which is why Rarity asked Twilight and Fluttershy to take some analog pictures of the swamps for her. After being left without any materials or information about the duo's whereabouts, Rarity decides to go and look for them herself. Twilight and Fluttershy were both not at home and didn't answer any calls. Luckily, Rarity manages to track Twilight through her phone. Unfortunately, Fluttershy was already in stage 3 when Rarity entered the facility, which led to her getting assaulted. After Twilight found out what had happened, Rarity was placed into an isolated cell to further investigate the issue. Rarity is at risk of being infected since Fluttershy managed to get some serious hits on her, slicing one of her eyeballs and pulling skin off of her arms. Since all of this is being kept secret, Twilight is low on funds and cannot provide proper hospice attire for Rarity. For the sake of everyone's safety, Twilight destroyed her phone and locked Rarity away. This is where the story ends for this video. Now for the design choices. Obviously, those are not Rarity's clothes, but Twilight's. Her own clothes had Fluttershy's blood on them, which made them a big biohazard. I'm pretty sure now that everyone realized why Rarity doesn't need her current glasses since one of her eyeballs is severely damaged. It is unknown whether she is infected or not, since the assault is pretty recent and she can't show any symptoms yet. However, I know that some of you might think that she's immune now because she's not showing any symptoms, and in regard to that topic, I just want to mention that immunity against parasites is really complicated, which is exactly why I chose it as a disease type instead of a stinking old virus. The human immune system is capable of defending itself from many types of parasites through various means: antibodies, T cells, killer cells, whatever. But according to my research, to reach an immune status, you'd have to get exposed to the parasite constantly. I made it especially difficult due to the eukaryotic cells disguising as host cells, so make of this info what you will. Whoops, got sucked into the lore part again. Yet then again, there's not much to say about her regular design, as it's also pretty easy to convey into my art style. Rarity was probably the most satisfying to draw, and if you have been wondering what those little comments next to her were, I was actually on a call with my friend and fellow colleague Shazime, and I couldn't turn my mic on, so this was my way of communicating with her. I made a separate canvas for writing later, but sometimes I forgot to switch, so that's what that was about. And that's also it for the video. I know I took a different approach by explaining my designs and my intentions, but I feel like mixing everything up with like a little lore and a little art was really cool to do. And if this video is well received, I will definitely do a part 2 with the rest of the cast. This video also turned out a little bit longer than I expected, but you know, either way, I also want to thank you guys for something, and that is for taking my varied content so well, since I have fun making both storytime animation and media redesign. I have fun doing a lot of things actually, and I cannot express how much I appreciate a community that is interested in everything that I do. Thank you, genuinely. That's it from me. Check out my other social media in the description where I'll be posting the images from this video, and I'll actually see you guys in the next video. Adios!